Welcome back to another guitar tutorial. Today we're going to be taking a look at how to execute bar chords. Bar chords were such a struggle for me to learn when I was first starting out, and I think a lot of beginners really struggle with bar chords. But if we go over some of the fundamentals, it's going to make it so much easier. So before we get into this, I just want to mention that a lot of the concepts that we're going to be talking about today stem from the 3 easy steps to great sounding notes on the guitar. I have a video about this. I will link it up in the cards, so go check that out first, because if you can't get a great sounding note for 1 note, it's going to be pretty hard to do it with 2 or more. And today we're going to be looking to do 6. We're going to try to cross all 6 strings. So go check that video out first and then come back and we will jump into this. So using some of the logic from that video, the first thing that we want to do is make sure that we are going to be using the same sort of idea as the tips of our fingers. So the first step for great sounding notes was using the tips of our fingers. Now, the reason we were doing this is because the tips of our fingers have bone running all the way out, all the way to the tip. So we're trying to get this hard surface on hard surface contact. And now, since we're doing a bar, we have to actually play multiple strings. We can't use the tips of our fingers anymore. So what we do instead is, instead of using this kind of flat, fleshy part on the front, I guess on the back, kind of palm side of your finger, we want to try and use a little bit of the side instead, because the side of our finger has a little less flesh on it. So if we use the side of our finger by kind of angling our hand, let's jump over to the guitar so you can see this. So instead of kind of being flat with my finger like this, I kind of angle it just a little bit, so it's more on the side of my finger. So you can try that out. I recommend people start trying bars around the 7th position. So if you go to the 7th fret on your guitar, there should be there might be a dot there might not, but count it up all the way to the 7th fret and see if you can play all 6 strings with 1 single finger. So first thing to try is switching a little bit to the side of our finger. The next thing is trying to be close to the fret. So you might notice when I'm playing this bar chord, if I kind of get my other fingers out of the way, it almost looks like the fret is hidden. You can't actually see the fret at all right now. But if you were to look kind of at this angle and you look underneath where your finger is meeting the guitar, you should see the fret just barely there. If it's getting covered up, you'll probably have this sort of sound where there's kind of muted notes. We don't want that. We want every note nice and clear like this. Okay, so, and then the third step is adding pressure. And a little tricky thing, I don't know if I mentioned it in any of the previous videos, but to get the pressure on the guitar, we don't really want to be squeezing. We don't really want to be kind of gripping like this. What you want to do instead is use kind of the weight of your arm and use gravity a little bit. And then maybe also a little bit of kind of like your back muscles to kind of pull the neck back a little bit. It requires a lot of effort to get these bar chords to sound. So you're going to have to put in a fair bit of pressure. So we have to pull back on the guitar with our left hand, and then with our right arm, you can kind of use your forearm to kind of pull back this way as well. So it's kind of a balancing thing that's happening with the guitar like this. But yeah, if you pull back a little bit with both, that'll allow you to put more pressure in and save your thumb. So we won't actually be putting as much effort into this gripping kind of motion. Okay, so those are the 3 main steps, but bars also introduce one other thing, which is where exactly the strings kind of fit under our fingers. And this is something you'll have to experiment with because everyone's fingers are a little bit different sized. But the main thing to look out for is that you don't have a string land in one of these little grooves on your fingers, right where the joints are. So you might find this helpful is just to kind of lightly shift your finger up or down ever so slightly on the neck like this to get it into a position where hopefully those strings don't land in those joints. Okay, so for exercises, here's what I want you to do to practice this. So starting at the 7th position, we're going to see if we can get it nice and clear. If it's not, maybe you're getting a sound like this, where the low notes are clear and then the top notes maybe aren't so clear. Or maybe you're getting the opposite, where the low notes aren't clear and the top notes clear up. So this is another element, is this kind of teeter-tottering balance that has to happen across the strings. We need to be very even in that all strings are receiving a good amount of pressure. And it's not just the low end or just the high end that is receiving pressure. You need it all the way across. So that's the first thing, is get that down. And then once you have that, we're going to slowly increase the amount of effort that we need by moving it down 1 fret at a time. So if you can get it clean at the 7th fret, move it down to 6. Move it down to 5, right? As long as it's clean. If it's not clean, you'll want to stop there and try and work it out and make these little tiny adjustments until every note is clean in each of these positions. All the way down to first position. First position requires a lot of effort, lots of pressure there. That's going to be the trickiest one for you to get down. But if you can do that, that'll actually really dial in the amount of effort and the technique required for playing these bars. So you can use this. I see it with beginners all the time where they need to play an F chord or they need to play a B minor chord, for example. But instead of jumping straight into those chords, I recommend doing this exercise first. If you can do this exercise all the way to the 1st fret, then you can take your shapes like your F shape, this one here, and if we move that all the way up to 7th, we can try that with the same sort of technique where we bring it up to 7th and bring it 1 fret at a time, making it slightly more challenging. And it might take you several days, several weeks, maybe even months to kind of work up to some of these. But hopefully some of these tips are going to be helpful for you. Now, if you guys have any other tips or tricks about how you guys learned how to do bar chords or anything that has been helpful for you, feel free to leave them in the comments down below. I will pin anything that's relevant and I think's got some good insights in it. I'm always interested to hear from you guys about that stuff. Also, if you got anything from the video, feel free to like and subscribe. There's also going to be some links down below to my Patreon and a bunch of my other social sites and stuff like that. But anyways, hope you all enjoyed the video, and I will catch you next time. See you later.